Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Process. I am on a roll this week. I mean, I don't know exactly when all of these episodes are going to be coming out, but I have recorded a lot of episodes this week because I just have all these ideas, and I'm realizing that I don't actually have to follow someone else's rules of how often I should be recording. I can just hit record, and I can just record this episode and put it out there. So maybe it'll come out soon, maybe in a few days. But anyway, I had this experience this morning and I wanted to capture it because it was really interesting and it relates to what I'm building with this coaching program. And I think it is kind of probably going to be one of my core messages because I think about this a lot. I talk about this a lot, but the way that it was framed this morning was really interesting. And so I wanted to share. So essentially, just to give you just a little bit of context for this morning, it is Saturday. My daughter had a swimming lesson this morning, and we also have my husband's family coming to stay with us today for a couple of days, and so there's a lot of things happening. And I knew that it wasn't going to be a heavy work day, but we generally will try and do at least a little bit every single day working on the business or working on something to do with self-development, something where we are consistently moving the needle, whether it's a big task or something small. And so I knew that I wanted to come and spend a little bit of time in the office today, but holy shit, I did not feel motivated this morning. I just wanted to chill. We're about to have people here for the next couple of days, and I really didn't want to come in here, but I told myself that I was going to. And so I did. I got in here. I feel like I was just kind of fluffing around, not really doing anything. And then thought, well, okay, let me just start by reflecting a little bit about what I did this week. And I had a couple of coaching calls, which was really exciting. And I was like, maybe if I just start talking out loud, things will happen. And because I've realized that talking aloud has been really helpful for me in terms of kind of articulating what I'm thinking and processing my thoughts and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I started, and then I started to think about, I'm creating this lead magnet at the moment, which is just like a free resource that I'm going to put out on my Instagram in the next week or so. And so I was just thinking about, how am I going to structure this, and what am I going to make it look like? I had already come up with an idea before I started doing these coaching calls, and now I've done 3. And already I'm like, nah, that idea that I had was not right. That did not hit the mark. I need to totally change it and do something different, which is also interesting, just as a side note, to recognize that I can see it now as data, instead of going, oh man, I put all this work in and now it's ruined and I did it wrong. It's like, no, I tried to I acted on something with the information that I had at the time, and now I have more information, and so now I can update the way that I'm doing things. I can iterate and I can change, and it doesn't make the stuff that I did before less valuable, but I don't need to get caught up in it. I can just move forward. And so anyway, all of this to say, I got into the groove, started going, and excuse me, part of this resource that I'm thinking about is, how can I help people to become more aware of the fact that they are getting stuck before the moment where they take action towards the goal that they want. The people that I'm talking to have very clear, big dreams for themselves. They can articulate it to me in extremely specific detail, but time is passing and they're not getting closer to it. Maybe they're taking, some sideways steps towards it, but they're like, I need to close the gap. What's going on here? What's getting me stuck? And I was thinking about, what is it? And I realized, it's not motivation. They want it. They really, really want it. So what the heck is it? What's stopping them from being able to move towards it? And that got me thinking about how something that I hear a lot from people is that they see me as someone who is very motivated, who has so much willpower and can just get stuff done. And every time someone says this to me, I say thank you, but I also feel a little bit confused, because I'm surprised that that's something that people see about me, when I don't necessarily feel like I'm a very motivated person all the time. And exhibit A was this morning. I had no motivation to come in here. And I came in here, I made myself a hot chocolate, and I came in here, I had my phone initially. So then I was just scrolling and I wasn't really doing anything. And I essentially was just wasting time, not motivated at all. And maybe you could argue that the fact that I'm doing this on a Saturday morning does have a little bit of an element of motivation. But let me tell you where this motivation came from. It did not come from me just waking up and going, okay, I'm going to get this done today. I'm going to go do all these things and I'm super motivated. It was not that. The motivation was a byproduct of me taking action and of me moving in the direction of doing something. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. I just came in here, and something that I've started doing in the last few years that I did this morning was, all right, I'm going to put my phone off to the side and I'm going to give myself about 20 minutes where I can't do anything else but this task. And I can just sit here and just stare at the computer screen for 20 minutes and do nothing, but I can't do anything else. And typically when I do that, it helps me to just get over myself and at least do something, that's going to maybe not move the needle very much, but at least I'm focused on something business related or something related to whatever it is that I'm working on. And so that's what I did. Once I started doing that, like I said, I started the reflection, and then all these ideas started coming to me, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm starting to see what this looks like. And the fact that I have all these different ideas now that I've done a couple of coaching calls in the last 2 weeks is really interesting. And I'm sitting here going, hang on, this is it. Like, this is the exact thing that I want to help people move through at a much smaller scale. But essentially it's the same thing of, I have this goal, and for me, it's this big dream of having this business and moving towards a space where I have more flexibility in the work that I do, and more autonomy and ownership, and being able to create a much bigger impact. I'm very clear on the goal, and I'm moving towards it, but I'm not using motivation. I'm not relying on motivation, because I know that motivation is fickle. It is not a consistent thing. And even though it might come across as though I'm very, very motivated, I'm not. Sometimes I have these waves of motivation, but a lot of the time I do not feel like coming in here and doing the work. So I'm not relying on that. What I'm relying on is the fact that I have some systems in place, and I have done this enough times. I have flexed this muscle. I have done the reps enough times to know that it always starts with sitting in the discomfort. It always does. Every single time, because you're doing something that feels hard, that feels challenging. It's different than your normal programming, which is your brain just wanting to take the easiest way out and go sit down and watch some Netflix, right? And a lot of times I do that. That still happens. I don't always get past that, and that's okay. But I do know that for the most part, when I am being intentional about moving towards this massive goal and dream that I have, I have to do something that's going to get me started. I have to be able to sit in that uncomfortable feeling of going, man, this sucks. This is boring. This is hard. This is challenging. I don't know how to do this. Whatever the story is, sitting in that discomfort and going, okay, for me, it's generally about 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to put 20 minutes on the clock. If I get to the end of the 20 minutes and I'm still hating every moment of this, then I'm going to give myself permission to go and do something else. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go play with my daughter. I'm going to go just do something else. But 99% of the time, when I give myself that 20 minutes of uninterrupted, I was going to say focus, but it's not even really focus. It's just like permission to sit here and just be and not do anything else and just see what happens. And every time I do that, when I persist through that feeling of discomfort, that is when I get the motivation. That is when I get the clarity and the feedback and that dopamine hit of like, okay, here we go. I've got that energy. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And then I can often go for quite a long period of time, because I'm so invested in whatever it is that I'm doing, because I know I have that end goal in mind. I know what it is that I'm working for and what I'm working towards. And I just have to get over that hump of that discomfort, of that feeling of, I don't really feel like doing this right now, which is the case for me most of the time. Let's be clear. I am not some random, like, super motivated person that can just switch it on. What I can do is use this system of setting that timer for myself and seeing if I can move through that discomfort. So I've never framed it for myself that way, but that is what I do. And that is what I'm looking to help other people do. And so as I'm breaking it down, I'm realizing not only is this the process, but I have lived this experience this morning. So it's not something that I'm just pulling out of nowhere. It's a lived experience that I just had a rep right now, right now. And I did not come in here expecting to do a podcast episode this morning at all. I came in here thinking, okay, I've just got to do at least one thing that's going to move the needle. I just need to kind of reflect on this or come up with some sort of idea of what this resource could be for people. And I still don't even know exactly what it's going to look like because I got so wrapped up in this idea, because I think that this idea is so important, because we don't often realize that motivation is not the cause of action. Sometimes it can be. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes we do have motivation. I would say, especially, right after a big moment. So, like, often right now it's January and, the new year, everyone's got their resolution. So you've got that wave of motivation, or that, yeah, it's a wave of motivation that you're riding for a few weeks. And you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make everything happen. It's going to be amazing. It doesn't last. I don't know of anyone that just can just ride this wave of motivation forever. It always ends. And then that's where the real work begins. That's where you have to figure out, how the hell am I going to get myself over this feeling of not wanting to do a damn thing? What am I going to do? And so for me, this is something that I've been using, is this strategy of setting the timer and doing that. Might be other ways. I would actually love to hear other ways that people are moving through this discomfort. But to me, it's become super clear that that's the pattern. You feel the discomfort, and then a lot of times what happens is you move away from the discomfort, right? You go away from it, you scroll, you go get something to eat, you have a nap, you just do anything else that's easier, that can get you away from that feeling, because that feeling of discomfort is not a nice feeling. But the other direction is sitting with it and going, and I think the key here is that I have done it personally enough times to know that if I do it, I'm going to get that reward on the other side, but I have to be willing to sit in the discomfort first and persist through it. And often it doesn't even take 20 minutes, but I give myself 20 minutes knowing that, okay, if I've sat here for 20 minutes and I seriously, I can't do it today, then that's okay. And I'm going to give myself permission to take a break and go do something else. But at least I know that I sat here for 20 minutes and gave it a solid bit of space to let something start to happen, right? And then once that movement starts, then that's when you get the motivation, and then you can just take off from there. So this is something that I'm really just forming in my mind as I'm talking about it right now, but it feels important. And it feels important because I know that it's worked for me and that it has created a lot of change in my life by being able to notice that feeling, and instead of running away from it, just sitting with it, acknowledging it, and giving it 20 minutes to either dissipate or send me a clear message that I need to just take a break. But I would argue that I could push that timer further and give myself more time. And if there was a situation where I got to the end of the 20 minutes, I don't actually know if it's ever happened, maybe once or twice when I was really tired. But if I was to push that out to 30, 40, 60 minutes, that there would still be some work that would get done in that 60-minute time frame that would then create that motivation and then keep me moving through whatever it is that I'm doing. So anyway, that's it for today. Just keeping it short and sweet. If there's one thing you can take away from this, you have to move. You have to act. The clarity that you are seeking does not come from sitting and thinking and reflecting and wondering. It comes from doing. Clarity comes after action. We have had it backwards this whole time. We think that we need to have it all figured out. We think that we need to know what's happening and we need to know how to do all the things before we get started, but it's just not true. If you sit in it, if you are willing to sit in that discomfort and take an action, move forward, that is where you're going to get the clarity. That is where you're going to get the motivation. That is where you're going to get that momentum, that dopamine, all those things that are going to push you to keep going in the direction of whatever it is that you're chasing. And so I hope that that is helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please send me a DM on Instagram. Leave us a review on Spotify or Apple. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for listening and going on this journey with me. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one.